Welcome to another Boyish Rant. Last Saturday, hundreds of men, most of whom were drinking, headed into Parliament Square. Despite claims that this was a protest over defending British heritage, it soon became violent. Not unlike British heritage. Police were attacked by demonstrators, most of whom were far-right activists, though there are an awful lot of reports of football firms lending their hooligans to the cause after putting their differences and grievances aside. It's empowering to see good old British racism bringing people together. Separately, on Saturday, a number of anti-racism protests were held in London and all over the country, resulting in 0 arrests. This one in London, though, had hundreds of attendees, mixed messages, historical ignorance, 113 people arrested and 23 police hurt. Now, just to compare, my city's biggest ever protest in its history, over 4,000 people attended, 0 were arrested, 0 were injured. Hundreds attended, 113 arrested, 23 injured. A beautiful blend of cultures and races, all coming together with one positive message. A swamp of fat fucking bald white men who are attacking the people there to protect them with a barrage of mixed messages. The irony isn't lost on me that these uneducated cretins are screaming, "England!" whilst throwing glass bottles and fighting English police in the capital city of England. Or that another group of protesters were pictured doing the Nazi salute near the Winston Churchill statue, who helped defeat the Nazis. The levels of malevolence and historical ignorance are unprecedented. Scotland Yard had reported they had arrested dozens of people for crimes ranging from breach of the peace and drunken disorderly to assault with a deadly weapon and possession of Class A drugs. So, pretty much a normal Saturday night in London then. Several peaceful demonstrations were able to take place in Hyde Park and near Marble Arch, and despite the police's best efforts to keep these two groups separate, clashes were about to happen. Inevitably, shit kicked off, bottles were thrown, and violence broke out. In the midst of all this chaos breaking out, a far-right protester falls to the ground, becoming injured, and another protester on the other side sees this guy get swarmed, so without any thought for himself, this fucking local hero, Patrick Hutchinson, fucking ran into this swarm, picked up this dude, and carried him out to safety, resulting in this wonderful picture. 5 minutes ago, this white dude was screaming racist shit, but Patrick Hutchinson runs in there and still saves his ass. Images like this show that there is humanity on both sides. Villains, yes, but also heroes. It's almost like we're the same species. John Apter, who's head of the Police Foundation, has called on Home Secretary Priti Patel to call an emergency ban on protests after dozens of officers were injured over the weekend. "It's unlawful what's going on under the COVID legislation. Ban them!" He called on Home Secretary Priti Patel and Sadiq Khan, baller of London, to just get a grip and sort it out. Now, Mr. Apter is conveniently forgetting just a small piece of legislation, just small ones. Don't know if you'd have heard of it. The European Convention of Human Rights. Article 9 protects your freedom of thought, conscience and religion. Article 10 protects your freedom of expression. And Article 11 protects your freedom of assembly. Article 10 and 11 are critical in protecting your right to protest. This means that the public authorities must act in a way that does not breach your rights. However, these rights are qualified rights, meaning that the government have the ability to restrict them if it's proportionate and it's in the public interest. For instance, the COVID regulations are emergency laws which allow our right to protest to be restricted in response to the current coronavirus pandemic. However, again, whether these restrictions on our right to protest are lawful has still to be determined by a British court of law. This means the current status of the law is still unclear. So if you're out protesting safely in compliance with the law and a police officer questions you, first off, film that motherfucker. As far as I know, there's only one reason you're not allowed to film British police, and that's Section 58A of the Terrorism Act of 2000, which, you shouldn't have to worry about. Unless you're a terrorist. Do I have terrorists watching my channel? And even still, the police's own guidelines say that this tactic shouldn't be used in everyday policing activity, which includes protests. In the end, keep protesting peacefully, social distance, and talk, much like I touched on in my last video. If we don't talk, debate, and express our opinions and our arguments to each other peacefully, you get this. Get it?